Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 3rd chapter, text number 13. Shri Vasudeva Uvacha Viditosi Bhavan Sakshat Purusha Prakrite Paraha Kevalanubhavananda Swarupa Sarva Buddhidrak. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Vasudeva said, "My Lord, you are the Supreme Person beyond material existence and you are the Super Soul. Your form can be perceived by transcendental knowledge by which you can be understood as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I now understand your position perfectly." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Within Vasudeva's heart, affection for his son and knowledge of the Supreme Lord's transcendental nature both awakened. In the beginning, Vasudeva thought, "Such a beautiful child has been born, but now Kamsa will come and kill him." But when he understood that this was not an ordinary child, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became fearless. Regarding his son as the Supreme Lord, wonderful in everything, he began offering prayers appropriate for the Supreme Lord. Completely free from fear of Kamsa's atrocities, he accepted the child simultaneously as an object of affection and as an object of worship by prayers. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport.
Krishna has appeared in his extraordinary, transcendental, beautiful, wonderful form, four-handed Narayana form. And Vasudeva is struck with wonder that how was it possible that the Supreme Lord has come out of the womb of Devaki, fully dressed, beautiful ornaments, dazzling effulgence, and he's right there in the prison cell. So the result was that Vasudeva became completely fearless. He became free from fear of Kamsa's atrocities. Because he understood this child is no ordinary child. Before that, 6 children, they were killed by Kamsa. They were ordinary children. But this child is no ordinary child. Sakshad Purushaha Viditosi. He is now offering prayers. That is because the Supreme Lord has appeared. He is worshipping the Lord. How? By offering prayers. So this worship of the Supreme Lord, Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita, Bhajate, in the 6th chapter, last verse, Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mataha. Bhajate means bhaj dhatu. Bhaj dhatu in Sanskrit. Every word that is there in Sanskrit language is has got a root verb or a root form, and bhakti, bhajana, all these are coming from the root word bhaja. And bhaja means, in simple words, bhaja means to worship. But Prabhupada explains, this is not just some ordinary worship of some great person. No. It is the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality who is to be offered everything, complete surrender, bhaja. So, in the devotional literature, it is explained bhajana or bhakti, 9 different ways one can worship, or one can render service to the Supreme Lord. 9 different ways. And directly or in simple terms, worship is described technically as archana. Archana means specifically deity worship. Worship the Lord in his form as the deity. But that is not the only way one can worship the Lord. There are other ways also. One can worship the Lord by offering prayers. Vandana. That's technically called Vandana. Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana, Padasevana, Archana, Vandana, Dasya, Sakhya, Atmanivedana. So 9 ways one can worship the Lord. So here Vasudeva is worshipping the Lord by offering prayers. Vandana. It's called Vandana. Offering prayers. Vandana also means to offer obeisances. To offer, to bow down. But bowing down, we bow down and simultaneously we recite some prayers. That's the proper way of bowing down. If you don't know any prayers, you simply say, Jai Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Ram. Simply say Jaya, all glories to the Lord. So, but those who are in knowledge, Viditosi Bhavan Purushaha, Sakshat Purushaha, I have now understood that you are the Supreme Lord, Supreme Person, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Supreme Personality of Godhead has Sakshat directly appeared in my present self as my son, come out of the womb of Devaki. So he is offering appropriate prayers because he is a devotee. He knows what is the position of the Supreme Lord. He knows. He understands. He is in knowledge. And he's offering appropriate prayers. What's the prayer he's offering? That you are Sakshat Purushaha Prakrite Paraha, means you are transcendental to this material existence. You don't belong to this material world. Which means that there's no question of Kamsa killing you. Kamsa has killed my first 6 children. But there's no question of Kamsa killing you. You are transcendental to this material existence. Prakrite Paraha. You're beyond this material existence. You're completely spiritual. Kevala Anubhava Ananda Swarupaha. And your form, that form I see, is Satchidananda Vigraha. Ananda is mentioned here, but actually Ananda here means the Lord's form is full of bliss. And this form is perceived. Kevala Anubhava. Only through transcendental knowledge. Only through transcendental knowledge one can perceive this form. Your form can be perceived by transcendental knowledge. Kevala anubhava. Ananda swarupaha. Because your form is not like ordinary form. Ordinary form is neither it is full of ananda, nor is it full of knowledge, neither sat, nor chit, nor ananda. This form of ours, this material form, all the material forms, including our own form, present form, is not eternal. It is temporary, subject to destruction, subject to change, subject to deterioration. Chit, it is full of ignorance, this form. If you say this table is achit, means it doesn't have life, it doesn't have consciousness. So it is a dead matter, we say. I am not a dead matter, but my body is achit. I am chit. Spirit soul is chit. But my body, my present body, is achit. It is full of ignorance. Full of ignorance. When a child is born, it has to be educated, it has to be instructed, it has to be taught, it has to be sent to school. Otherwise, it will remain ignorant. Ignorance, characteristic of this material body is ignorance. And characteristic of matter is jada. No consciousness, no awareness. So no possibility even of imparting knowledge. No possibility of imparting knowledge. Therefore, if we think I am this body, either gross or subtle, even the subtle body also, it is also jada. Subtle body is also jada. It is dead matter. Life is spirit, Atma. That is life. That is consciousness. That is conscious. You as spirit soul, you are aware, you are conscious, you are knowledgeable. But when you are covered by this gross and subtle body, we are in ignorance. We are in ignorance. Ignorance means forgetfulness. Or you can say we are in darkness. We are not able to perceive. So in darkness, neither we perceive ourselves, nor we perceive the Supreme Lord who is seated in our heart, the Super Soul. Nor can we perceive the Lord when He appears in front of us. Like Krishna appeared in front of, to the vision of ordinary people also 5,000 years back when He incarnated as Krishna. Just like He's friend of Vasudeva. Now Vasudeva is seeing, Kamsa is also seeing. Vasudeva is seeing, ordinary people are also seeing. But ordinary people cannot recognize. Kamsa is seeing Krishna after he was transferred to Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan, Kamsa is seeing this child, eighth child of Vasudeva has escaped. And then he is not understanding. Prakrite paraha, sakshat purushaha. Not able to understand. Why? Because Vasudeva is praying here. Your form can be perceived by transcendental knowledge, by which you can be understood as the Supreme Personality of God. Kamsa failed to understand that Krishna's form is completely transcendental, is beyond this material existence. He failed to understand. I now understand your position perfectly. Swarupaha Kevala Anubhava Ananda Swarupaha Sarva Buddhi Drik. It is Drik means it is the intelligence, Buddhi Drik, intelligence of everyone. It's the super soul who gives us knowledge. The super soul who gives us, directs our intelligence, who enlightens us, who actually makes us aware of what is what. We think that when I see this object with my eyes, oh, I'm seeing this is a table. Actually, with these eyes and the power of seeing, that is not same as knowing what it is. You can easily appreciate this point that when a child is born and it starts seeing so many things, so initially what it will do when it sees something for the first time, it will ask, what is this? It will ask its mother or father, what is this? Then the parents have to say, this is a table. Is it not? Then only they'll say, oh, this is table. So merely seeing is not knowing or understanding or actually coming to knowledge. Through these senses and our mind also, if we are able to perceive, we can see forms through these eyes, we can hear sounds through these ears, we can smell different fragrances through the nose. We can perceive subtle things through the mind or even the intelligence. We can perceive. But that is not knowledge. That is not knowledge. Merely perceiving a form doesn't mean you know what that is. It's like I am seeing your form, and even if I understand what this form is, but I'm thinking I'm seeing you, but actually I'm not seeing you. I'm seeing your external covering. You are within that form called the body. Even if I perceive your mind, still I am not perceiving you. I'm perceiving your mind, different from you, different from me. Even if I perceive your intelligence, I'm able to, figure out something about your intelligence. Oh, you're an intelligent person. You are learned in such and such a subject or whatever. You're a mature adult. But still, that is not you. Those are all the characteristics of your subtle body called intelligence, mind, intelligence, ego, body. So the body is different, the person is different. But not in the case of Krishna. Krishna has appeared in a specific form, 400 form, Narayana form. But that is not the external form of Krishna. No. Krishna is nothing external and internal. Shukadeva Goswami describing Mother Yashoda is trying to catch Krishna, and Krishna is running away after stealing butter. Not stealing, after breaking a butter pot and taking the butter. So then Mother Yashoda has become very angry against Krishna. Why is he spoiling the stock of stored butter? So then Mother Yashoda is trying to catch him to stop his naughty activities. So she's chasing him. And Krishna is not, she's not able to catch him immediately. And he's running away, running away, running away. Now, Shukadeva Goswami explains a very important point there. That Yashoda is thinking the supreme absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, is her beloved child. Small boy, naughty boy. So thinking he's a naughty boy, she's trying to chase him to catch him. But she does not know or understand. She does not understand that he is actually, he cannot be caught. He cannot be caught. Because he doesn't have a form which is catchable, which can be caught. He doesn't have a form. Ordinary person has got a physical form, so you can catch. Okay. Krishna doesn't have a physical form. He's got a spiritual form. How can you catch a spiritual form? So then, Shukadeva Goswami says, when she's trying to bind him, somehow Krishna submitted to his mother, seeing his mother's, out of love for her hard labor in order to catch him, he submitted. Okay, let me submit myself to my mother. She's so very insistent that she has to catch me. Okay, he submitted. Then Mother Yashoda, after he was caught, she decided she has to punish him now. But the child was very afraid, and she has so much love for her child. How can I beat him? She had taken a stick actually to punish him by beating him. But then seeing his fear on his face, she said, I cannot punish this child, small child, for some mischief it is doing. No. She threw away the stick. Then, but still she was thinking, I have to stop his naughty activities. So I have to bind him. And no, I have to punish him some way. So let me just tie him. At least he will stop for the time being, he'll stop his naughty activities. So she decided to tie him. She decided to tie him to that grinding mortar. And then she brought rope, and then she's trying to tie him with some rope. And the rope is not sufficient. Why? Why is that rope not sufficient? Shukadeva Goswami explains that Krishna, the Supreme Lord, has no inside, has no outside. He is no inside, no outside. After all, when she's trying to tie him, she is trying to tie him external measurement of his body, right? With the grinding mortar. Grinding mortar also got an external form, certain shape, certain size. Krishna is a small boy, so together she has to bind. So first time she tried binding, the length of the rope was not enough. She brought some more rope. Now she's bringing more and more rope, and it is not enough to tie him. Why? Because Krishna has no form which is measurable. Even the soul is immeasurable. Because soul doesn't have a physical form. What is the Sanskrit word in the second chapter? Aprameya, immeasurable. Aprameya. Krishna is also aprameya. There's one temple of Krishna when you go from here to Bangalore on the way. What is that? Malur. Aprameya Swami temple. So, Lord is called aprameya, immeasurable. We are immeasurable because we are very tiny. Krishna is immeasurable because he is infinite. He is very big, unlimited Lord. Unlimited. But in any case, let alone the measurement, you can't even measure. Neither you can measure the soul, nor you can measure Krishna, because there is no physical form. There is nothing there to measure. What will you measure? Where is the form to measure something? So, therefore, Prakrite Paraha, that which is within this material world, made of matter, that you can measure, or you may try to measure it. Okay, you can try to grasp it. But Krishna's form is beyond this material world. So therefore, to understand Krishna, to know Krishna, to see Krishna, to perceive Krishna is possible only by transcendental knowledge. And what is this transcendental knowledge? This is explained by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukrutino arjuna. It says 4 kinds of pious people, they surrender to me. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. Now this word bhajante mam, Prabhupada translates, note the translation of Prabhupada. It's called Parampara understanding of Bhagavad Gita. What does he translate it as? Surrender to me. Is it not? What is the word for meaning? Chaturvida bhajante ma. Bhajante. The translation it is surrender. But in the word for meaning? (7.16). Okay, Prabhupada has, in the word for meaning, is given render service. Bhaja means devotional service. Okay, in the translation also it's not surrender, it is render devotional service. Because in the previous verse he says, Namam dushkrutino mudha prapadyante. Namam prapadyante. They don't surrender. 4 kinds of people don't surrender. And in this he says 4 kinds of people surrender. Of course, the sense in which this bhajante is in the sense of the word prapadyate. It's in the sense of surrender. Okay. It comes in the 19th verse, prapadyate. Bahunam janmanamante jnanaman mam prapadyate. Anyway, the point I want to make is that in this, so 16th verse, 7th chapter, Krishna says, 4 kinds of people begin to render devotional service to him. Bhajante. Artha, Jignasu, Artharthi, Jnani. Of these 4 categories, Krishna says, Jnani is the best. Why? Because he says, Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta. Jnani means one who is situated in knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Vititosi Bhavan Sakshat Purushaha Prakrite Paraha. This knowledge. Here Jnani refers to one who knows Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the result of knowing Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead is Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. Eka Bhaktir Nitya Yukta. He is completely devoted to worshipping Krishna. Always, constantly, Nitya Yukta. Eka Bhaktir, with one pointed attention. Exclusively engages in worshipping Krishna. So, such a Jnani is not this type of Jnani who is an impersonalist. Prabhupada specifically explains. He is not an impersonalist Jnani. Impersonalist Jnani also worships Krishna. And a devotee Jnani, Nitya Yukta, what is that? Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta, Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. Eka Bhaktir Nitya Yuktaha. Also worships. But there's a difference. Impersonalist Jnani, how does he worship? Because his conception is absolute truth is impersonal, and it's very difficult to worship the impersonal absolute truth. Formless, how do you worship something that is formless? So they imagine some form and worship that imaginary form. This is a process of the Jnanis, impersonalist Jnanis. They worship an imaginary form. Prabhupada says, imaginary form of God is not God. Imaginary form of God is not God. So they are not worshipping God. They are worshipping some concoction, some imaginary form, which is not God. Therefore, when the atheists say that these worshippers of God, especially in the form of deity, or some particular form which they think is material, and even the Mayavadis or the impersonal, they think that this form is material form and it's imaginary form, because God is formless, so you cannot worship formless. So therefore, but Shastra says one should worship God. So the Mayavadis think, yeah, we have to worship the impersonal Brahman. We have to worship the impersonal Brahman. That's their understanding of the absolute truth. So how do you worship impersonal Brahman? The method of the impersonalists is you imagine some form. In the beginning, you imagine some form. Later on, when you realize God, then you forget all this imaginary form, because that's not God anyway. So you forget that. You stop that. But our process of devotional service, bhakti, is not like that. Real bhakti is we worship the transcendental form of God from the beginning and even in the end. Always. We only worship God, real God. And that form is Prakrite Paraha. Purushaha. That form is the form of the transcendental personality who is transcendental to this material creation. And that form can be perceived only by transcendental knowledge. Only by transcendental knowledge. So, in the beginning, even if we are not able to perceive God, because we are not yet conversant with transcendental knowledge, then we are told you just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Or you bow down before a deity of Krishna. Bow down before a deity of Krishna. Or you hear about Krishna's description from Bhagavatam, from the lips of pure devotees. That is the way to perceive God in the beginning. These are the ways. But you also understand that actually God cannot be perceived simply by with these eyes seeing one deity form. You cannot perceive God like that. Because he is not having any material form. His form is not material. Yet the deity is made up of what? Either wood or stone or metal. That is very much material. But the science of Krishna consciousness helps us understand that God has appeared in a form which we can see or perceive, sound form or metal form, or a form of a description in the scriptures. Here description is there. Krishna appeared in this four-handed form. The description is there, which we can understand. We can get some idea what he looks like or what form he appeared, Narayana form. But this is not a material form. This is not a ordinary form. Neither the form of the deity, nor the sound of Hare Krishna, nor the form which appeared in front of Vasudeva is a material form. It's a transcendental form. So that transcendental form is perceived only by transcendental knowledge. What is a transcendental knowledge? The knowledge that the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Person, is completely spiritual personality, who is realized only by bhakti. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. So many verses in the Bhagavad Gita. They explain, it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna can be seen or understood or known or worshipped only by bhakti, by devotional service. So this transcendental knowledge also is realized or understood or obtained by devotional service. And Vasudeva is actually a pure devotee. Vasudeva is a pure devotee. And therefore Krishna chose to appear as his son for his Leela in this material world. He chose to appear as his son. So he is participating in Krishna Leela. And part of that Leela is that Vasudeva is praying to the Lord, I want to have a son like you. This is Leela. He is already a devotee. There's no need for him to ask Krishna, you appear as my son, or I want to have a son like you. There's no need for a devotee to even ask. Because already he is always Nitya Yukta. Eka Bhaktir Nitya Yukta Upasate. He's always worshipping the Lord constantly. So therefore, it is part of the Leela, the birth pastime of Krishna. Janma karma chame divyam. And as far as we are concerned, we can see or we can understand or we can realize or we can perceive Krishna only through transcendental knowledge. That is the understanding. Your form can be perceived by transcendental knowledge. Therefore, this transcendental knowledge is awakened in our heart. It is already there, but it is awakened by the process of sadhana bhakti. Therefore, we chant Hare Krishna. Therefore, we bow down to Krishna, the deity of Krishna. Therefore, we worship the deity of Krishna. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. Like that. So, all this is recommendation of performing devotional service in order to be able to realize or perceive or understand or see actually the real spiritual form of Krishna. I'll stop here. Vantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.